One thing that is irritating me a lot is Bat in the Sun and the way that they keep trying to use JDF's name for a narrative to either poison the well for fans, or to just be like, hey, over here. Now, they've done multiple live streams in the past, and that's something that I want to kind of talk about. I've got everything. I need to go over it to make a more in-depth video, because I feel like stuff that they are saying shouldn't be said. You should not be putting words in a dead man's mouth who isn't here to say, hey, this isn't right, or this is whatever. Like, you can't speak for JDF. He is no longer here, and it's pissing the fandom off that Bat in the Sun is constantly coming out and saying shit all the fucking time. So quite recently, we've had the return being brought up by Amy Jo Johnson, who is doing the comic book. It's called The Return, and it's an interesting storyline, and we so far have the fact that we may have a female Green Ranger from the picture that has been issued, and it could be the fact that it might look like Jenna, it might be her, or a resemblance, which again is another video which I'm going to talk about later on, because again I have thoughts on that as well. But what Bat in the Sun is saying right now is like, everything seems to be like, well, this was JDF's idea. Yeah, we done this, and Boom are stealing their stuff. Now, if you don't know, from what I've seen online and what they've talked about is the fact that Boom have stolen characters and made stuff. They pitched ages ago an idea to them, and Boom Studios has said, no, we can't take this on whatsoever. So it feels like they have a massive bee in their bonnet right now, and the fact is that they're using JDF's name to say, hey, guess what, we're gonna fucking push this harder than anything, we deserve to have this, they need to credit this. Now, at the time, I'm guessing when Amy started writing this, JDF was still with us. So there's that there, but obviously every single person from the time that Amy Jo Johnson left the show, when Kimberly left, there has been the idea of what happens. They do it, like they still dated, they still got there. It's literally been in every fans. 99.9% of the fans have fucking thought about this, and this is really irritating. Like apparently JDF had so many ideas, like he could say anything, and then Bat in the Sun like, well, we went to, JDF saw that, like JDF said this. And all of this just makes me not want to support their products or their productions whatsoever, because it's just fucking irritating. Let the man rest. And I hate to say this, but as soon as Legend of the White Dragon's out, no one's going to give a shit about Bat in the Sun whatsoever. The only thing that they've been giving a shit about is that this is JDF's last project, the Legend of the White Dragon that is, and then that's it. But let's have a look at what I'm talking about rather than me just ranting at the camera. This was posted and it says, years ago, JDF pitched a story of Tommy and Kimberly having a daughter who becomes the Green Ranger, thus giving way for Jenna Frank to enter the scene. It's good to see them finally doing it in comic form now, but where's Jason's credit for the story? Every single fucker who has basically had a Power Rangers thought has thought about this. And as soon as Jenna came on the scene and she went with him to conventions and stuff like that, they've all wanted her to be the fucking Green Ranger. Like, there's been stuff over the years that someone has said, oh man, I would like it if Jenna got the power. Like if JDF, like if Tommy put the Green Ranger power coin in her hand, she would be the new Green Ranger. That would be cool. Everyone has had that fucking idea. Even people, like even before Jenna was born, when obviously Kimberly fucking left the show, to go off for fucking training at the Pan Global Games, people have turned around and fucking said that what happens if they have a daughter? It's fucking there. This irritates me on so many levels, because it just feels like anything that JDF has said has to be his and his alone. I could imagine if it was like, oh man, could you imagine if Tommy was addicted to waffles and there was a whole story about that, and then suddenly, lo and behold, waffles came up in it and no one talked about it. It'd be like, fucking JDF pitched that idea, fucking hell, he fucking should have done it. at the end of the day, I'm sure Amy Jo Johnson had the thing. Like, even if no one had the idea, like literally no other fan had this idea, I'm sure Amy Jo Johnson would, because she'd be like, man, like, you know, what happens if they were together? Like, why would you do this? Like, did Jason David Frank turn around to Amy Jo Johnson and say, man, I had the fucking best idea? I don't know. Fucking Aaron. So let's look at some of the replies here. This isn't on Battle in the Suns. This is from Raoul, and it's listen anyway. Carly says, they need to let the dead rest. If they think they're making people more excited for Legend of the White Dragon, they're mistaken. Why is Battle in the Sun like this? And this one here is like from Christopher. So they are accusing Amy Jo Johnson of plagiarism. Now, obviously he's asking that question, but I guarantee you at some point some fan's gonna go, oh my god, like they are, like, you know, they should definitely sue or whatever. It's just so fucking annoying. Cosmic said this, and Bat in the Sun equals trash, which is fucking true. This is what really fucking got on me. This is what I responded with. It's like they think JDF comes up with everything when like 99.9% of the fandom and actors have proper thoughts about what if Kim and Tommy had a kid. I'm getting sick and tired of Bat in the Sun. And then when he put this in, and this is what it says, and this fucking irritates me. How do we all feel about them killing off the Tommy Oliver character in a new comic, capitalizing on Jason's death, or honoring the character? What the actual fuck, Aaron? Like, what the actual fuck are you talking about? Like, even Reese says, like, oh my fucking god, and I'm like the same. How the fucking dare you say this? Now, I just think this shouldn't be a thing. They should fucking let the man rest, not capitalizing on Jason's death. How the fuck do we know that Tommy is getting kind of killed off? Like, we have nothing. There's been no artwork. Maybe they're fucking saving it to the end. Maybe they're doing stuff. Maybe we should fucking wait. Like, we haven't seen stuff of Trini. So maybe they're trying to keep everything like kind of concealed so we don't go off and be like, oh my god, like this is the whole point of it. Can you imagine in the story that literally the Rangers need someone and suddenly Trini or Tommy come out of nowhere, morphed, fucking looking amazing, and then absolutely destroying the bad guys? It's just so interesting how Bat in the Sun are like, oh my god, like the capitalizing off Jason's death. How fucking dare you? Do you think that Amy would turn around and be like, yeah, we're going to capitalize on Jason's death? No, I don't think she would, and I don't think Boom would either. I mean, I bet you're going to turn around and be like, oh, look at like the way that Draken stabbed Tommy, like that shouldn't be in the thing anymore. So also to kind of confirm this, we can say how, you know, it is actually right there on their Facebook page. Most of the comments are just kind of saying that they like JDF and stuff. If you want to go have a check, go check it out there. But again, it's like, what the actual fuck when it comes to this? Like, why would you type something like that? I think, and to end this video, my friend Chris says this exact phrase, and I 100% agree with it. Couldn't agree with it more, as I mentioned, as you can see. And it says, if anyone knows what it's like to capitalize off JDF's death, it's Bat in the Sun. It feels like Bat in the Sun just want to fucking take JDF's legacy and fucking ruin it, kind of destroy it, and kind of like show it to fans and be like, fucking look, he hated this, and we know because we're best buddies. Anyway, I'm going to probably do a bigger, longer video on Bat in the Sun and their kind of treatment after all of this, because it's very, very interesting. So I'm going to leave it there. What are your thoughts on this? Let me know down below in the comments. If you like the sort of content and you want to hear and see more, hit like, favorite, comment, and subscribe. If you want to help out the channel, then consider joining the Patreon or the channel memberships. Thank you very much for listening and watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. I want to say a big thank you to all my Patreon supporters, and I wanted to shout out Kimona Cat, Kira Stanada, Micah Baldwin. Your help goes a long way to help support the channel, and if you want to help support the channel, the links to my Patreon and channel memberships are listed below in the description.
あらあら、チャンネルをサポートしてくれてありがとうございます。チャンネル登録、高評価お願いします。以下のリンクから商品を入手することができます。